In this episode, I'm going to discuss second tier spiral dynamics. I recently did a video which you can check out in the iCard above where I discussed spiral dynamics from a high level overview, like a beginner's guide. And in that video, I don't feel like I really give second tier the right kind of description while I went through the other tiers leading up from beige all the way to green. So that's why I wanted to take a little bit of time in this video just to give you an overview of second tier. And what is second tier? Well, second tier starts at yellow. Then it moves to like a turquoise color, and then we've got coral, which is further on. In the previous video and in the books that I've read around spiral dynamics, they talk about maybe 1% of the world currently being in yellow, with a little bit of yellow strategic thinking coming into places like Scandinavia, different governmental programs, different thinking. And then they talk about turquoise, which is above yellow. Probably 0.01% of people in the world are actually like that. And I'm going to quickly discuss what yellow and turquoise is. Coral, I'm not even going to touch on because we're not even there yet. That is beyond our scope and really beyond our understanding at this point. And so is turquoise in a certain respect. So yellow. What is really yellow? Well, yellow is back to being an I, where if you remember the other parts of spiral dynamics move from an I to we to we to I to I to we. They go backwards and forwards from we to I. And what that means is it's a self-focused one, where the next one up when you go to turquoise is a full, back to a group thinking or back to we, but it's a second tier thinking. So what is the difference between first tier and second tier? Well, Claire Graves, the inventor of spiral dynamics, really says that the leap into second tier is momentous. It's a momentous leap. And some of the key characteristics of people that have made that leap, they really lose this sort of need to be number one. They lose that fear of irrational fears, the compulsive behaviors that they may have. They really stop thinking about what other people think about them. They stop caring, but not in a nihilistic sense that, oh, I just don't care, I'm not going to do anything. They still continue on with their life and their projects, but they no longer need that recognition from other people. They don't need to be number one in a certain sector at all costs. And if you think back to some other parts of spiral dynamics, especially in orange and maybe even to red, those are individualistic back to I parts of the spiral, and they're very much, people will want to be number one, and it will be at all costs. So if you think about red with street drug dealers or terrorists, or really, let's take the example of street drug dealers or street thugs who want to run a block. They want to be number one, and they have to keep everybody else away from them, and they will do that no matter the cost to their lives or to their sort of network. And then we go to orange, and that's very much that like bad capitalist kind of guy, that bad entrepreneur, the one that spends everybody's pension fund because he wants to make his profits look better or his expansion to get there because he wants to be number one in the market. So they'll sacrifice things around them to get that recognition, and that can be very damaging to their health, to their family, to their friends, and again to the network. So it's the bad side of some of the more I-focused parts of the earlier lower tier in spiral dynamics, that when you get to that yellow part, you no longer have that drive. You're not willing to sacrifice everything just because you want to be number one. You're happy with being fourth or fifth, whatever that may be. You're just happy because you get to be part of that community. And that's the other thing about second tier. They're very much still part of their communities. They're very much engaged in that. But the unique part of that, because you might say that's true about blue and green as well, because they're we and they're about the collective, and we're all in this together in a certain respect. Because if you remember blue, you'll have like evangelical Christians, very religious people in there, even very extremist Muslims or extremists of any types in there. They love their own community, but they'll hate other communities. And then in green, you're a little bit more accepting of all communities, but you can fall into that trap as well within green. But obviously green, more likely or not, you're more willing to be accepting of all communities. Then at yellow, you really are. You really, truly, you don't fall into that trap, so to speak, of getting too left liberal, as I discussed in my proper video. And I don't want to bring social politics into this, even though it's a great way to use examples, but the green part of being too left, oh, you're not liberal enough, so you're not liberal enough as we are, so we're not going to talk to you. That's a trap in green, and it's also a trap in blue because they're we. But let's continue on from that. But in yellow, what you have is they're accepting of all levels, whether they're a we or an I, and they're able to have compassion for those. And this is where another major part of yellow second tier thinking is. Some of the characteristics of people that can operate in yellow or are moving towards yellow are people who can really use systems thinking as a way to navigate life. But they don't rely heavily on systems thinking. Because in orange, and something I think I forgot to mention in the previous videos, orange is very much, a lot of science is in orange. There's a lot of scientists are in orange. They're very factual, and it's facts, and they'll push away the mystics. They'll push away the unexplainable, the magic that there is in the universe. Or someone in yellow will take more of a holistic approach to that. So they'll be able to take in more than just the facts, the cold hard facts. They'll be able to navigate the systems and then also think about the mystical and go a bit deeper into the spiritual side of things. Where someone in pure orange might not be able to take that leap, and in fact might find that to be something they get triggered by and they close down on. Imagine telling a very factual scientist that his ideas around the Big Bang are wrong, or his ideas around the what's that collider called in Europe? I can't remember the name of it, but the ideas around certain scientific things, they haven't been able to explain them yet. Where they kind of like fall on the science for their facts, and they can't quite say that there's unexplainable things because they haven't been explained yet. There's that line from the movie Thor where he says in the first one, I know I'm quoting a Marvel movie here, how terrible of me, but he says that magic in our world is just science that hasn't been explained yet. So, and I think that's a great way to think about it when I'm talking about orange and stuff there when it comes to science. And then the yellow people are able to take the factual science part and also link it in with the spiritual, and then use the systems thinking that are very prevalent within orange and within green as well, but really take it to the next level. So I know I've gone on a little bit there, but what are the characteristics of second tier, especially when it comes to yellow, because that's the one we know most about? They have lost their compulsive behavior issues. They have lost sort of reacting to irrational fears. They are very compassionate to all other levels of the spiral, and they have become spiral wizards, so to speak, as it's referenced in the book by Claire Graves, and then the content that's been followed up by Don Beck and others. And then when you move into turquoise, this is something I'm not going to spend too much time in, but the main part of turquoise in the second tier is where yellow is still about yourself, it's still I. Turquoise, you move back to we, and that really is the ultimate place where we kind of go currently, and that's really when you start talking about terms like Gaia, how the whole universe is involved. And like yellow people will understand that and be into that, and maybe some green people can kind of reference that a little bit in the lower tier, in the second tier. But when you get to that turquoise, you really are thinking about things from a really holistic, really like not just the planet, but you're thinking about the whole universe and how the ecosystem and the work that you're doing can affect the billions of planets and the stars out there. And even second tier yellow can start to think a little bit like that, where you're not just taking this myopic kind of my country, my city, my country, my province, my state, whatever that be, my continent. You really are getting more into that world view, and you're really understanding how things can affect the systems that you live in, that you operate in, and how different things work. Where a lot of people in lower tiers, especially in the second tier, in the first tier, they're really just about pushing things through for the benefit of either their group or themselves, without really thinking about the negatives that could affect the world. And that's where I'm going to wrap this up, this video. So that's a little bit of a description from my perspective, from the beginner's guide, so to speak, for myself, of the books that I've read from Spiral Dynamics, and some of the understanding that I've been able to glean from listening to Leo from Actualize.org's many videos on this, which if you've got about 12 hours of your life, I would highly recommend touching on all his Spiral Dynamics videos. They're very, very key lessons to be learned if you're thinking, if this system thinking, this spiral model is appealing to you. I would recommend that spiraldynamics.org also does an online course, which I am currently looking into starting very soon, because I really find this model super, for me it just explains everything, and I don't want to say that this is the tool that explains everything in my life, but it's a tool that's helped me understand the political landscape. It's helped me understand why we're at each other's throats currently, not only in the UK when it comes to Brexit and different parts of Europe, to especially in the United States, and even in Canada recently where I live. We just had an election and the Conservatives won the popular vote by 34%, but the Liberal Party still got into power with 33% of the vote, and a minority government. And there seems to be certain different provinces are very liberal in the sense that they vote for more socialist programs and more socialist leaders, where other parts of Canada that are very much into manufacturing, oil, and agriculture very voted conservative, because the climate change issues, they're like, we don't care about climate change in a sense. Well, they might do, but they put it below jobs and economic strength and growth before the environment, where some of the other voters across the country put the environment ahead of corporate or capitalist gains. And that's the swing that we see currently in Canada as well. So it's helped me understand that and understand where people are coming from, rather than getting into this trash talking backwards and forwards, oh, you dumb conservatives, or you leftist neoliberal, what do they call them in the States right now, the radical left. It's terrible, like liking the environment and other people and not being racist or homophobic or xenophobic. It's such a terrible thing to be. That's the argument that's kind of going on right now in Canada a little bit. And Spiral Dynamics has actually helped me understand that, and actually has helped me get less triggered by watching the news, because I'm able to see, or I think I'm starting to be able to see, that when a politician or a news anchor or even a whole network is talking, I can see where they're coming from. I can see which part of the spiral that network, that person, or that political party is really in, and where it's going. And to touch on that, I voted recently. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, because most people watching this video from the States, probably, because that's where most of my content gets viewed. So I voted for a party that is probably in the green area of Spiral Dynamics, with a little yellow thinking, moving towards a more conscious, loving, and open world, where we actually think about the systems that we live in and the effects that they could have for future generations. So I said I was going to wrap up this video 5 minutes ago, but I went on a bit of a drone. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about it. I love Spiral Dynamics. It's a fantastic model that I'm definitely going to do more videos on. Like I said, I'm going to focus on sort of the blue, orange, and green, because they're the three areas that I think that really color me. They're the colors that really would shine brightest in my system, because they're the ones that I've been really exposed to the most in my life. So we'll definitely touch on those on future videos. If you like this video, give that like button a hit, and also hit subscribe as well if you want to come along and join on my Struggling to Succeed journey. My mission here is to deliver bite-sized videos as often as I can, to really share my experiences as I'm growing through a personal development journey. A lot of my earlier videos touch on just basic sort of key tips, tricks, and strategies of how to have a better life and how I interact with the personal development industry. And over the last sort of few months or year, my videos have grown into discussing like systems thinking, finite and infinite games, and discussing things like Spiral Dynamics as well. So if you like that and you want to join, please hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you in the next episode. Thanks very much, and make it a good one.